While looking for ideas for a new animation project, I came across this really cool website on Awards. Now the version featured on Awards was actually a different page, but when I explored their services page, I found this super clean image animation effect. As you scroll, each image smoothly fades in, stays on screen for a moment, and then zooms out while the next one takes over. The whole thing feels really cinematic and keeps the section visually engaging without being overly complicated. So I recreating something similar using GSAP. And this is what I came up with. Here, as you can see, the images animate one after another with this smooth staggered flow, while the entire section stays pinned during the scroll. Each image scales, fades, and transitions out to create this layered storytelling effect, and even the background text subtly scales the entire time to make the animation feel more alive. And if you enjoy these kinds of React plus GSAP animation videos, make sure to subscribe to the channel and drop a like on the video, it really helps out. Now with that said, let's start coding it. In the app.jsx, the structure is actually pretty simple. We'll have two spacer sections, one at the top acting like a hero section, and another one at the bottom working as a footer spacer. And in between these two sections, we'll place our main animation component. Inside the component, we'll first create the main section and attach the container F, which we'll be using later for the GSAP animations and the ScrollTrigger setup. For the styling, we make the section take up the full screen width and height, keep its position relative so absolutely positioned elements can sit inside properly, and hide any overflowing content to keep the animation clean. We're also centering everything using Flex, and giving it this light amber background so the images stand out a bit more visually. Next, we'll create a div for all the animated images. We position it absolutely to cover the entire section, and pointer events none prevents it from blocking interactions. I'm importing images from a separate file where I've created an array of objects. Each object contains the image itself along with properties like top, left, width, and height, which gives us full control over the positioning and sizing of every image on the screen. As we map through the images array, we create a div for each image. We position them absolutely and dynamically place them on the screen using the top and left values from the array. Inside it, we render the image and give it responsive sizing using max width and max height values. We also use object fit, contain to preserve the image proportions, and add a soft shadow to make the images stand out a bit more from the background. And finally, I'm just adding a bold centered text in the middle to give the section a strong visual focus. Now before starting with GSAP, let's first import the required packages and register the plugins. Then we'll create a container F using useRef, which we'll later use as the main trigger and scope for our animations. First, we select all the images using gsap.utils.toArray. Then we set their initial state, making them invisible, scaled down, and slightly blurred so they can smoothly animate into view later. After that, we create a timeline with ScrollTrigger attached to our container. The section starts animating as soon as it hits the top of the screen, stays pinned during the scroll, and because we're using Scrub, the entire animation stays perfectly synced with the scroll position. Now here comes the main animation. Using a single timeline, we animate all the images with keyframes. First, each image fades in, scales to its normal size, and removes the blur. Then it slightly scales up to create a subtle hold effect. And finally, it zooms out and fades away before the next image takes over. And with stagger, we delay each image a little, creating this smooth cinematic sequence throughout the scroll. And finally, we add a subtle scale animation to the hero text to make the section feel more alive while scrolling. Here is the final result. As you can see, the images smoothly appear one after another, slightly scale up, and then zoom away while the next image takes over, creating this really clean cinematic scroll effect. And if you enjoyed this video or learned something new, make sure to subscribe to the channel and drop a like on the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.